Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak on one of my very close to my heart subjects. And the reason I say why it's so close to me because I started my career as a town committee councillor, which was back in 1998. So as a very young man, I started my political career, and after that, became a town committee chairman. Twice for 8 years, I became the district mayor, kind of a thing. You can say a district Nazim. Then I had an opportunity of becoming a state minister in federal and chief minister of Balochistan, and finally, I'm right there as a commerce minister in the government of Pakistan. So what I speak is what I've seen, and what I've seen is from a very small village of an area of Pakistan, and especially Balochistan, and to the best place we are now in Islamabad. So Balochistan has to be seen a little different as we see KP, Punjab, and Sindh. Balochistan is 44% of Pakistan. It's the landmass is quite big, and not only it's 44% of Pakistan, but if you include the mountain terrain of Balochistan, so it stretches more. So it's a very harsh terrain. My experience what Naqvi Saab's, I take Naqvi Saab's statement a little different. Today, somebody asked me, Naqvi Saab had spoken quite openly. I said, listen, when it comes to politics, when we are in federal government, ministers, when we go to functions and all, so we speak out definitely some a narrative which we believe in, but maybe at times, the selection of words becomes a little difficult because it's not a written speech. So even if I'm speaking to you, like, I'm not really focusing about the vocabulary of English grammar, what exactly is going to mean. But though we need to be very focused on that also because we are on very responsible positions. What I took out from Naqvi Saab's statement was a big question that is the governance structure that in which Pakistan is for the last many years. And if we say two scenarios, has it performed? And if it has not performed? And my point of performance is not like whether we have achieved the industrial growth or economy or anything else. My basic core concept is has a common person of Pakistan received the basic services which it needs from its government? Has its voice been heard? Does the common man of Pakistan have a platform where his voice can be taken very seriously? Does he have the means where he can bring a change within his unity? Do they have a mechanism where their livelihood can really transform and not what can be given to them from a province or a capital? So majority of these answers come no, it hasn't happened. Why it hasn't happened? There are many debates, there are many reasons. And how I put it, do the provinces get the financial required right what they have in the NFC? The answer is yes. But if I say, is that money for a chief minister, for a selective few people in the province? The answer is no. But they are the government, they can do anything. So the core reason was that this money had to trickle down to a very smaller unit within that province so that it can benefit everyone. So I say, like, a common man's relationship with the state is through all these tiers of governance. Unfortunately, the money never trickled down, the services never trickled down. The development was totally dependent on one individual who is the chief minister of the province, I was the chief minister. Wherever I want to take it with few of my close cabinet members, I can take it anywhere. So when I conclude all these points, what Naqvi Saab had said, and what maybe people thought it was different, that this structure needs reform. Fine, he's used another word, but I believe I've been saying this for the last 10, 15 years, that you cannot function under such a mechanism where the world is going towards AI, towards technology, toward achieving things every minute. Our system is not like this. Our system does not have the capacity to even engage in a proper way of what the requirements are of current youth, current development, fiscal means for future and all, because we still are working under an umbrella of a government structure which takes a lot of time, a lot of decision makers, then the processes. We have rules, PEPRA rule, OGRA rule, so many regulators, and each regulator has its own time period of taking decisions. So in conclusion, I am of the opinion that if we, and the time is very crucial, and it's not the time for Pakistan very crucial, I think so. There's a global change of how people are seeing their governments functioning. We can take an example from Europe. We can take an example from UK. We can take an example from Canada, from US. So people are no more agitated. They want more services for them because the technology has given them that platform. Yes, there's a need. There's a need of change, a structure which should better perform for people. Now the debate comes what that structure can be. So you want the local body structure, you want the provincial structure, you want the administrative structure to function. Local bodies, no matter what system comes in, I believe it needs to be strengthened, it needs to be facilitated, it needs to be very much there. But how this local government is going to have a relationship with the province, that's the biggest question mark and challenge for now. Being a person belonging from Balochistan and seeing how things are within Pakistan, yes, it might have not been a need if things would have been very right. If things would have been progressing, there would have been an ideal local government for the last 20, 30 years. If our administrative setups would have been strengthened the way the federal and the provincial governments would have done it to them, if we would have been seeing a very ideal situation of district deputy commissioners and assistant commissioners and health officers functioning very well with the resources, with the governance structure, with decentralization of power to them, then yes, maybe there would have been a question like, we might not need them. But at this moment, we have seen that in 30, 40 years, this has deteriorated more rather than becoming a surface-oriented government in any of the provinces. The question I think so, which people did not understand, the prime minister, the current prime minister, was one of a very effective and hard-working chief ministers in Punjab. So he made all his efforts in doing all those things. But the moment you see a change, the whole structure stops. So we had the PTI. I had a chance of meeting Mr. Buzdar Saab. No offense against him, but if an individual changes, your whole setup stops. This shouldn't be the case. Even if the system should stop, but maybe the other province might not stop because of one individual. So now you're compromising. One individual has a lot of power, a lot of money in his or her hands, a lot of access to changing things, which rest all are just dependent on a good mood from that personality or being on the right side of this personality or in any other case, which I believe should not be the case. So I believe in Balochistan, let's say if we have 3, 4 units, I can feel the people of Balochistan might start feeling different. Now, this is a very big turning point. People have not thought about it. A common Baloch or a common Pathan in Balochistan feels what stake he has in decision making. So he has no stake. So he has been handholded by people who are taking them their own way. But if the units become smaller, so obviously the focus of politics is going to become very concentrated in that unit. And whoever wants to contest for a government formation will make sure that they engage everyone because the number game is going to be very small. And this might be a chance where people will get involved. The youth might have a feeling of their voice is heard. They might play their role. And by competition among these 4, 5 units, some is going to adopt a very good policy of giving a livelihood, socio-economic development, SME side to their youth, whereas the other province was not doing it. So they'll have a pressure from the other side, why aren't you guys doing it? Look at this province, how they have progressed. The children are going to universities, they're studying, their socioeconomic indicators have improved, and we are just right where we were. So, there'll be like a healthy competition and a good competition. But in current situation, there's only one option. Either it's good or bad. So if it's good, you're lucky. And if it's not good, then it's bad, and you have to remain in that for 4 5 years. And in such situation, I think so now the people are becoming, because the youth of Pakistan is in a very big number, it's like 60% plus. And they're not like us who have a very calm attitude towards things. They are very responsive. They are on social media. If they don't like something, they'll share it. If they don't have something, they'll want it, they'll demand it. And if you don't give them, they'll get agitated. That's a scene which we see in a house. I'm sure, like, you have a grandchild, I have a grandchild, or your children. A 4 year daughter or a boy, if you don't give them a phone, they don't eat their lunch. So just to like give them lunch, you have to give them a phone also so that they can see something. So imagine people in masses, like they have nothing, and how much demanding they are. And it's high time, whatever decision we take, we should not just see what our political aims are, what we are seeing for ourselves. This is the first time, I think, so we need to, whatever we decide. I'm not saying that, this is the ideal model, this is not the ideal model, but this is a fine moment we should think about a common Pakistani and how we can improve his life or her life. I guess maybe our party is trying to see how people are taking this subject, and maybe they are acting a little wiser than giving an opinion of whether they want it, they don't want it. And if the people are going to really come up, which I'm seeing, like there's a lot of debate going on, which is good. People are coming on social media. There's deliberation like you're doing right now. And I've seen like group interactions, people meet discussing about this thing. And it's good that leadership should get the best input. And this is what I believe. I believe whether it's the establishment, whether it's the political parties or it's any other party, it's good that the input to these decision makers come in maximum. And then we apply a lot of filters to it and see what consensus we can really build up. PMLN, I'm sure, is very much vigilant because being the biggest population, Punjab, which is close to 130 million people, is a big population. And I'm sure like there'll be a lot of concerns which many parties have, the major parties which have, and then you have mid-tier parties which have, then you have the nationalist parties which have. So all definitely have their apprehensions in their mind because a change is always which is not acceptable. It's human nature. You don't accept a change instantly. It takes time. It takes deliberation. That has how we've seen history also. But the change in current times is something very crucial because we feel business as normal is not that good as it should be, not in terms of the current scenario of our government. Business is normal, then the regional scenario is different. The GDP growth of economies, the global GDP is falling down. The technology is taking over a lot of human employment. We are seeing regional threats, which has really affected economies of closure of Hormuz and US tariffs and many other things. So the earning per capita of every individual has gone down to a very big extent, and same goes for the governments. So next coming years are going to be really tough. And Pakistan being a population of 250 million people, so we have to be serious. You can't just be very casual about 250 million people and say, okay, fine, anything can happen, so you're fine with it. It's not going to be fine. So we have to be very serious in that terms. There is already a very big population which is unemployed, and people have very less resources for socioeconomic opportunities. So the debate is which mechanism is going to best perform for them. If it's this one, if this model is fine, you use a phone package, right? You and I, we use a phone package. What do we choose? Do we have one package like for all? No, it changes. So I believe, there's a package for every region, every geographic area within Sindh, within Balochistan, within KP, within Punjab. Like every region is different. Some are industrialists, some are farmers, some are traders. There's a port city, there's a mountain area. So you can't just apply one formula all over and which can be accepted. The needs change, the demand changes, the opportunities change. So I think so if each has its own authority of deciding best for their resources and opportunities, they might function better. If you pick up the manifest of any of the political parties that we have in Pakistan, and if you see the debates before the elections, I think so. The basic fundamental view they always take is that we are going to be the ones who are going to strengthen your local government setup and how to strengthen it further. There are certain parties who are very much for the South Punjab province to be made, which was announced in the past, which is our party also has said it, and People's Party has also said it. I'm sure, like in KP, the current government in the past also have shown many signs of there should be more units in Pakistan. Balochistan, at times, uh, things have been not quite clearer as at times, the voices of the big boys sound more serious than Balochistan saying something on this subject. But there have been a discontent on many of the issues which the people of Balochistan had when it comes to administration. So the point is, yes, the deliberation has to be among all the political stakeholders. You have the Senate, you have the National Assembly, and you have the provincial assemblies. And at the same time, we have the district councils also. The district councils do play a major role where, when it comes to public representative, it's so we give a lot of space to parliamentarians, but we should also give space to the people who have been elected at the grassroots level also. I guess just because the way the news came, because Mohsin Naqvi was addressing a gathering of industrialists, as you know, for the last 1.5, 2 years, the business community in Pakistan has been facing a lot of challenges globally and internally also. As we are into a IMF program, there are a lot of restrictions that we have on our fiscal discipline, on our interest rate and many other things, on our energy pricing and all, which is not making Pakistan quite comparative in terms of these costs. So generally your industrialists, your business community, which runs the country in terms of its revenue and all. So this debate has come in among many traders, business people also, why the structure is not performing well for us. So when you were in such a gathering, obviously, that's how the debate came up. And just because the debate came up, then so the parliament never got a chance of reacting to it. But I'm sure now the session is there. I just attended the Senate and the National Assembly, but though the agenda for the Senate was quite different today, it was not about this issue, which I think so should have been a point of discussion. But I'm sure in the coming days it's going to come in. So what we need to do is we should talk it out in the assemblies. We should make these committees, we should sit on this. But the committees should, and the political parties should not just parties which are not accepting it should just not accept it for the sake of their own like it or their own want this to happen. There should be a reasoning. And the ones who are for it, there should be a reasoning. And then we should see what the Constitution says. So what provisions of the constitutions allow the provinces, the provincial assemblies, and both the houses of the mechanism which should be adopted and should be kept for these things to be debated or decision taken upon. And I'm sure on the other side, every parliamentarian is going to be faced by his own constituent people, by people through the media, social media, and many other things. So there's no doubt there should be a debate, because this is going to be a decision which is not a small decision. It's a big decision. We're taking a decision which would change the course, which would change the course for many things, and it's very important. And this is there shouldn't be a haste to it, but we should not delay it for the sake of just because it does not work well with our narrative and interest and all. So I'm sure in coming days we'll see people talking about this in the assemblies, also a deliberation on in this. The major stakeholders, Pakistan People's Party, my party, PMLN, there's JUI, even opposition party at this time, PTI is very much there in all the houses. And there are other parties like ANP and MQM, uh, parties from Balochistan and all. There should be a consensus at least to speak on this, give their views. Those views should be shared with public through media and all. Let the people of Pakistan also listen what the decision makings are thinking for them. Because at the end of the day, we all want to bring all this so that it can benefit people. One, a better life for them, a strengthened system, a good administration, a good representation, a proper fiscal devolution of money and funds, and at the same time, a representation which people have an ownership in. And if all these things are the core center of this whole subject, and with making Pakistan a stronger state, making Pakistan a stronger economic state, which is quite important at this time. Because if your governance structure and your provinces don't put their hands together with the federation, there's no way after the 18th Amendment you can really make your ways for progress the way a federal government can do it or not. So that's why, for me, I think so. The debate is important, and there should be deliberation, and there should be seriousness in this. Pakistan People's Party, they're in coalition with us, but at the same time, Pakistan People's Party or MQM, or let it be any other party, we have seen it in the National Assembly also. MQM had their own stance when it came to the local bodies elections. They're strengthening their formation in the recent budget also. We saw Pakistan People's Party taking a very strong stance on the water issue. And similarly, we do see parties taking stance in the current GB and Azad Jammu Kashmir elections also. So, in politics, in democracy, at least you have space for all these things, where friends do argue, they debate, they don't agree on each other's point of view, but they do come up with decisions also. So I think so. Every party has their own right of saying their narrative. Pakistan People's Party has its own stronghold in sin, and I think so. Where we are stuck with uh, this narrative of I, because there is a belonging from the people belong from this soil, and that name definitely becomes your identity. Like I was today giving an interview to one of the TV channels that, I said, is Balochistan representation of Baloch? So that might not be true. Because Baloch live in Oman also, Baloch live in Afghanistan, they live in Punjab, they live in Sindh, they live in maybe in Syria, they live in many parts of the world. So their identity is being as a Baloch, not Balochistan. So the main identity is Baloch. Similar goes for like any other, like the Sindhis. There are a lot of Sindhis globally, like anywhere in the world. Also, Punjabis also. The Punjabis across the border also. It's not. So for this, a KP example, the Pathans are not because of NWFP or the name just changed, but because there are sentiments associated with certain political affiliations, religious affiliations, ethnic affiliations, and I think so in Sindh, there are more other things also. So the situation is I think so. The most sensitive situation at the moment on this subject is about SIM. Um, Rest of the country, I feel there might be a debate and they might agree on a lot of things. But how SIM is going to be addressed is that most important factor where how our party as the government and with the strongest coalition go forward with this and what consensus they can really play with this, bring in this. So that is going to be a tough call, I assume. But at least everybody is discussing it and how to go forward with it. Inevitable word is it's a very strong word. Uh, you can use inevitable in certain scenarios, but in political situations, there's always room of flexibility. There's always room for change, discussions, deliberations, accepting point of views and making your own point of view. So I do believe there is a need, there is a space for doing something a little more functional, and for that purpose, and that has to come from the parliament, and obviously anything which is going to be a constitutional amendment, because this kind of an amendment is not limited to a national level parliament change in act or any constitutional amendment, but it has to be done by the provinces also. So the consensus has to come from the provinces first, and that's what the current situation says. But if that amendment comes in, as in law, there's always a provision of it's how we see it, like, and the constitution does allow you in many spaces. I do recall I recently just saw um, a documentary which just said the American Experiment. It's on Netflix if you have seen it. So, and it's how US came into being and how the First Amendment came in. So, and how much there was debate on consensus, some not leaving their positions and some just being more flexible. So people had to make that way of going forward. They went forward, they made amendments, they accepted each other, and today we see that nation which has progressed in the last 250 years. So for Pakistan also, I think so. It's a time where we start these deliberations on certain subjects and issues, but with a good mind and heart. The intentions have to be clear, the mind has to be very clear, and the goal has to be very only for public orientation, their benefit, strengthening Pakistan as a state, progress in Pakistan in terms of its economic growth, facing the challenges which the people of Pakistan are going to be facing in next 1 year, and addressing the core issues of 250 million people who are a big population for us. If we keep all these factors in front of us, a way is going to come in for solutions, and I guess much better solutions. Hmm. Well, I feel it should not go to that position of being something which can really take things for an egoistic perspective. So we should not take it to that level. I think so. All the stakeholders should. That's why I said, you need to have an open mind and heart both for it. And once you have an open mind and heart and you apply, you might come up with a solution. But if we are going to restrict ourselves to our stance, then it becomes a rigid position, and that is might cause more stress. And we are not a country which should bear more stress. The people are not in a position to bear more stress within the governments and main stakeholders, because we're already involved in situations where how things are in KP, the Balochistan subject itself, challenges which we are seeing from the region within Pakistan, the economic situation. It's like what kind of systems choose. Pakistan the most. Obviously, there have been debate on this, and we've experienced it also. We've gone through all these systems directly, indirectly, and obviously for the last after the 1973 constitution, we have seen like democracy, and obviously democracy has its own strengths and at times its own times of where it can have not really solve the issues the way it should, but it's there. It's there. It's how globally things are working and all. In some places, we don't have the system. The American system doesn't work like this. It's totally different, but they are also functioning. At times, we have a system which is in China also, which is totally very different from that. So, and then we have Gulf and many other states where there's no system, but there's one man system also. So in Pakistan, I think so. There has to be a deliberation of what kind of a system we should have in Pakistan. And, idealism and actually something happening is totally different. Idealism, it's like we should have the best system, democracy suits best, obviously, and all. But when you talk about, what actually should be there and what is the ground reality at that time, at the moment in Pakistan, because you and me, every person in Pakistan is not like us. People are different, and that's how you build up a nation. When you have education, you have literacy rate, you have when people who are literate like 80%, 85%, and their literacy is not just primary level school, but it's like doing 14 years of education and all so many other things. So you define a nation very differently. So now the presidential system debate has not yet come in, I think so. At the moment, what we are listening is the administrative setups, whether they should be administrative setups or they should be provinces. After that, and I believe this would be good enough for the system to function. This is my assumption. Reason being is like, by creating more provinces, you are creating a lot of new activity within each geography, and there'll be a lot of things happening. It's not going to be as we are sitting today. We'll be seeing a lot of activity of chief ministers and governors and chief secretaries and moving around, performing, non-performing, being on media, contesting, going to their constituents, involving their youth and people and masses. So there'll be a big activity which might take place, and it's election, and then instantly imagine within a one geography where there are new 4 provinces and 2 are thinking of doing local bodies and 2 are not. So it's like, things are going to be very different if all these things put in place. And what is going to be an outcome of all this thing? A lot of people say, what if this doesn't perform? What if it all starts from zero? And this is what the big debate is. Well, what I put my, how I put my thing, I said, I'm still at zero at this situation. So what worse can it be for? And why I say I'm at zero? I am a federal minister. I have an MPA from 2 MPAs from my district. And I believe being in such a strong position, still I'm not able to get the rights for development and socio-economic upliftness for my constituency and my people from the province. I'm not being able to take it. So the favoritism for any provincial government is the chief minister and few of his close cabinet members. So if 60% of that whole share and chunk is gone just to 4-5 districts, so what are you left with? So I'm left with where I am today. But if there is a probability that me, along with few more districts, we have our own provincial government, let's say, so at least that NFC award, which was coming for 1, is now going to go for 4. So at least I'll get my share. At least that nobody can take it from me. And that at least that work, that economic investment, that right for jobs, the provision of taking a decision for strengthening few of my sectors of agriculture. So anybody who's the chief minister where I live, so he will be doing a lot of things. And what is going to be the end result? Something happening on the ground. Now it's a matter of chance. Like if I have a good relationship, I might get funds from the federal, funds from the province. I might get some good offices for some of the departments. I might get a program from the province. In some, I might not get it. So it's all discretion. I think so. The new provinces is going to take that discretion away. And that's not easy to have. But the discretion is going to go now into like more people and who, and if you see the example, I was a Nazim, and I'll give you a very good example. You know, when I was Nazim, so every 6 months, all the Nazims of Pakistan used to meet somewhere in Balochistan and KP, in Punjab and Sindh. We used to go over there, meet all of them. And everybody used to come and say, you know, we've heard that you're doing this. How did you do it? Like, and I used to ask them the same thing. You know, I've heard you've started this socioeconomic uh, NGO mechanism of community-based organizations. Some used to come and tell me, you know, we've heard that you've made your digital website for your new district and you have taken all your budget on digital format. This is like 25 years doing this. And someone coming and they said, you know, we brought this new farming structure, and some were changing their HR, some were allocating their budgets for health. So everybody was picking up the success stories and adopting them. And if they're and in this same scenario, I think so, the competition at this time is nothing. It's like, okay, whatever one person is doing fine. But if this competition is going to increase, this is going to bring in progress.